Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ask Me Anything number 5. Thanks for being a part of it. Uh, got a bunch of great questions in advance, which I'm excited to get to. Also, people showed up in the comments early and started leaving incredible questions. So thanks for doing that. Let's just dive right in. First up is Summer Brain. What is your favorite NJ beach town and why? Love a good New Jersey question. The Jersey Shore, it was never a huge part of my childhood. I feel bad saying that because I know I like talk a lot about New Jersey and I use New Jersey a lot. Um, the thing I did that was like my version of going to the shore was going to Six Flags Great Adventure. I know that's not the same, but both of those places are far from me. Like Six Flags and the Jersey Shore are both far from where I am in North Jersey. So if I was going to do one of those two things, I would just go to Six Flags. I've been to the Jersey Shore. I like it, but I haven't like my relationship with the Jersey Shore is not advanced enough for me to have a favorite beach town. I'm sorry. Isn't Lavalette one of them? If Lavalette is like the name of a Jersey beach town, if I have that much right, I'm just going to say that. Okay, look at this. If I had to pick habit or mood, this question is really going to come down to which one I end up using more on records, and so I don't really know yet. I just tracked some stuff for a record that is too much in the early stages for me to be talking about, but I used habit on it, and it could be a big deal, and there could be some big deal people involved in this record. And if that happens and it comes out, then I'm probably gonna have to have habit on my board for a while. But there's stuff I want to do on the next Cyberattack record that is also mood. So I don't know. But the answer to this question is going to have to do with which one I record with more, probably. Look at that. I love how specific the questions have gotten. I appreciate the fact that like my followers are like completists. Like they know a lot about what's come before. I really appreciate that. Okay, ever use any of TWA's pedals other than the sidestep? The Great Divide is glitchy as hell. I don't know that one. Bonus that they're in Clifton. Yes, I know they are in Clifton, New Jersey. And I've been to his house, not an ad, just own a lot of their pedals. I've been to that guy's house too. I know what you're talking about. I know Kevin. And I know Billy. I guess people call him Will now. But TWA is a two-man operation, and one of the two, Kevin, I know, and the other guy was like I've known since middle school. We've been in 100 million bands together. That's why I call him Billy. So yes, yeah, no, yeah, Sidestep is my favorite of theirs. I guess I got to take another look at the Great Divide, but I'm with you. That guy's house is like kind of there's some interesting shit going on in that house. Maybe we should leave it there because I don't want to get into like privacy violations, but he has like he's got like books about like aliens and stuff. Okay, if you could have a custom Cyberattack pedal made for you, what would it do? What would its features be? I have an idea for this. I guess I've talked about this already. I have a very, 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 very low tech idea that I think could be cool that I'm going to use. Oh, look at this. He blurred his house out on Google Maps even. That's incredible that you know that this guy blurred his house out on Google Maps. Why are you looking at his house on Google Maps? I mean, I've looked at a lot of New Jersey on Google Maps. That's like one of the things I do in my videos is I spend a lot of time looking at New Jersey on Google Maps, but never at the level of looking at individual people's houses. That's kind of intense. All right. This is off to a great start so far. I'm going to go to some of the pre-submitted questions. All right. Here, this is one I got on Instagram. Look at this. This is from the Austin Blaine. Which historical figure would make the best modern day rock star? I got stressed out thinking about this because I feel like most historical figures were terrible. You know what I mean? Like everybody in history was just terrible. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but like every historical figure that ever lived, it's like they wake up and they just like do a genocide. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the morning. It's another day again today. I guess I'll just do a genocide. and then I'll have some biscuits and tea. That's like what you get with historical figures. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to have to pick one of them to be in my band. I kind of don't want to have to deal with that. Um, so but even putting aside like who would be good at music, I feel like it's maybe, I don't know, maybe Harriet Tubman. I feel like she's the one good person who ever lived. Yeah, that sounds right. Harriet Tubman was the one good person that ever lived. So I'll say her. I would be in a band with her. Um, just on the fact that she was good. I heard that when she was like helping an escaped slave escape in the middle of it, if the person tried to turn back, she would pull a gun on them, which I admire how hardcore that is. I feel like the worst thing you could say about her is like she was an absolutist, and that's okay with me. People, people who know me in my personal life have said I'm an absolutist, so maybe we'll get along. Okay, that's the best I can do for that question. Hi, just a simple question. So I'm kind of new to this, and I wanted to know what power supply for a pedalboard would you recommend? Oh man, Gummy Slug. Hi. Well, thank you for trusting me with your pedal power supply problems. I feel like other people in the chat could answer this question more thoroughly than I can. Um, I use the Gig Rig modular power supply system. That's what I use. It's very, you can like invest in that, and then it's not super expensive to make changes later. So I invested in that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, and it's worked and I like it. So that's my answer to that. Do you like or hate guitar synth pedals like the Boss SY200? I haven't played that one. That's not the I forget which one is which with the Boss SYs and the numbers. I love Boss, but I don't know what the fuck is going on with the numbers. I never know like which one is which. Um I've never played that one. I probably like it. I probably like it. If it's the only reason I maybe wouldn't like it is if it's the kind of synth pedal where all you're really doing is picking a preset, but the individual presets are not really very tweakable. That's the only way I would maybe not like it. I probably like it. You recommend the sidestep on the PS6 harmonist? Yes, I do. I read that other expression pedal, but Roland blah blah can damage the harmonist. Oh, I don't know anything about that. I've used the sidestep on my PS6 and have not damaged it as far as I know. I have a video about the sidestep where I use it with the PS6, so you could hear what it even sounds like. It's cool. I don't think I broke it when I did that. I also have a Moog. I have the Moog expression pedal. I think it's called the EP3, and I've used that with the harmonist, and it hasn't been an issue. So I think those are fine. It's possible. It's funny to think about. Like, it's possible I did break my harmonist a long time ago, and I never noticed. And that's why I like that pedal so much. It's just because I broke it, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds good." And like, maybe that happened like 6 years ago. That's possible. How much effort do you put into minimizing the noise floor of your board? Any tips? Man, you guys, we're very close to the level where I'm not going to be able to answer your questions to your own satisfaction. These are hard ones. Yeah, I put effort into this in the beginning. And then kind of I don't love having to revisit this. Okay, so I got the Gig Rig modular power supply. I already said that. One thing I like about that power supply is that you can isolate all your different pedals. It has like multiple, they don't share grounds. I'm like close to the limit of my understanding of any of this shit. But the Gig Rig modular power supply. Every time I say that, I feel like I'm doing an infomercial. Just like, it's impossible to say the name of that product without sounding like you're in an infomercial for it. But my understanding of the Gig Rig modular power supply is that they make it easy to isolate all your different pedals so they're not sharing a ground, which helps for noise. I also I have everything isolated in like true bypass loops. That's not really a noise issue, but I I don't know. To me, that is sort of a like keep everything sort of clean and separate issue. And then for those of you who are like, but wait, if everything is true bypass and you run long cables, then you could lose some of the high end. Yes, you're right to think that right now. So I also have a switchable buffer in the front, and then I use the Boss noise suppressor. I have that side chained with my noisiest pedal. So I don't know, is that like a lot, or is that a medium amount of caring about the noise floor? I guess I sort of care about it though. I try to care about it. Oh, look at this. Stephen Byer said, good question, Evan. Wow. Evan, good. Congratulations that one of the chat people liked your question. That's cool. You should be proud of yourself for that. Not a question. Maybe I shouldn't have put it on the screen then. But I love how practical you are with your sounds and explanations of things. Oh, thanks. Okay. Not everybody shares your opinion that what I'm doing is practical, but I'm glad you think that. Really has inspired me to push my own sounds and to not be afraid to try some new and totally wild things. Well, good. Yeah, okay. I'm glad, man. You get it. Yeah, don't be afraid of sounds. Don't be afraid. Or when you notice that you are afraid, then you gotta finish that. Anytime you do encounter a sound you're afraid of, you gotta keep that. You gotta save that preset immediately and use that. The scary sounds, the sounds that literally scare you are powerful, and you need to spend time with them. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Do you set up fuzz differently for single-coil versus humbucker? No, I don't. I have a Keeley fuzz bender. It sounds way better with humbucker. Even my jam pals commented. Do I just suck more with my telly versus PRs? I have no idea. I don't know. I'm sorry. We did it. I called it. I said like 5 minutes ago. I said like we are fast approaching the limit of my knowledge, and we got there immediately. Yeah, I don't really set up my fuzz differently for single coil versus humbucker. All of my guitars have that's not true. Every guitar I have that has single coils also has humbuckers. So this is not a life or death situation for me, because anytime I have a guitar that is single coil, I have a humbucking option on it somewhere. So I've never really like had to figure this out, which is why I don't know. I'm sorry. In practice, oh, this is just a follow-up from our previous back and forth. It's practical compared to almost everyone else with the Strymon Trinity on their board. Oh, well, thanks. Okay. Yeah, I mean, some people think of practical as like, I need to know which overdrive pedal is going to help me sound like Neil Sean's guitar solo and Don't Stop Believing for my very professional, constantly gigging wedding band, right? That's like a legitimate question many guitar players have that I'm never going to answer on my YouTube channel. So, in that sense, I don't think what I'm doing is practical for them. Oh yeah, here's another cool one. Okay, we're going back to the pre-submitted list of questions. This is from a username that has been taken. How did you approach beta testing the habit? Okay, cool. So in case you didn't know, Chase Bliss just put out a brand new pedal called the Habit, and it just happens to be right here. And I was involved in the late stage testing. In fact, look, my serial number 16. That's the one I have. How did I approach this? They just sent me one and were like, spend some time with it and let us know if it does anything bad. Let us know. And they sent me a prototype actually, which I sent back, and then I got this, which is the real production model, but they were like the same. I couldn't really make it do anything bad. I just spent a bunch of time. What I really did was I spent time playing it and using it, knowing that I also wanted to make a video for when it came out. And I sort of pushed the pedal in all the ways I would push any pedal in order to make a video about it. And I sort of tried to find what the boundaries were, and then tried to find ways to get past the boundaries. Because in order to make a video for my channel about it, I need to find the 5 pro tips. And so in order to discover those, usually I try to find like bizarre exceptions to what the pedal is supposed to be able to do. So like my whole approach for making a video for my channel like sort of works for testing a pedal. So I mostly did that. But I couldn't really find much that was wrong with it. I found there was one day when it like turned on and didn't work, and I reported that. And by the time I reported that, they were like, "We know about that. We fixed that already." So, and then to be honest, if I'd found more spectacular issues or problems, I probably would have just been like, "This pedal rules." You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't have been like, "Oh, it's broken." I would have been like, "Oh, that sounds good." So it's possible that like I'm not a good tester, because I would be too forgiving. Uh, but it was it was like a nice little payday for me though, because I got to build them for my time. It was fun to just get paid to have a pedal before it comes out. Um, One time when I plugged in the prototype, when I like put in the little power supply, it like sparked right when I put it in. That I've never seen that happen before. I was like, oh, okay. Well, if this is the end, okay. Um, Someone was talking to me about this the other day. Have you ever considered modular synthesis? I mean, yeah, that looks fucking cool. You know, I feel like if I do that, there's no coming back. You know, that world, the modular synthesis world, is so far out that I just feel like if I go there, then I'm never coming back. I would like to get into it. The cost to entry seems a little high, because you can't really do it with like one module, right? You need like a couple modules to be in the game, and I don't want to have to like buy a bunch of more gear now. You know what I mean? I don't really want to have to buy more gear. I try not to buy gear ever, to be honest with you guys. I try not to. It's very, very hard for me, based on what my life has become since this channel became what it is. It's very hard for me to justify spending money on gear. You know, like if I want something, I'll just try to find a way to have them give it to me. You know what I mean? I can't get anything I want. There's stuff I want that they won't give me for free yet, but I'm trying to get to that. So I would love for someone to just give me some free modular synthesis stuff, and then I would be into it. But in the meantime, maybe it's like healthy not to go there yet, because there'll be no returning. Okay, hi, I'm new to your channel. Hi, nice to meet you, Edwin. Your habit video was recommended and I instantly became a fan of your style. Thank you. I love all the videos I've watched so far. I'm curious if there might be more TPPO JLA. Oh wow, okay. New to the channel, and yet you already have deep knowledge. Yeah, okay. For anybody who hasn't done your homework as much as Edwin has here, TPPO JLA stands for Tropicana Pure Premium Orange Juice Low Acid. I've made a couple videos. These were the early days of my channel. I made a couple videos about my relationship with orange juice. Yeah, I got to finish that. There's I need to make at least one more. My current plan is I'm going to make one more episode about the TPPO JLA saga that ends it. I think the next episode is going to be like, this is the end of the saga. But yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I got it. I got to do that. I got to do that. Those are hard to animate because I'm just like talking about stuff the whole time, so I have to create more footage of like the animations and stuff. I know it seems like I already do that for all my other videos, but for some reason it's harder if I'm talking about orange juice. Why did you say in another video with someone else that which fuzz you have doesn't matter? I said that with Rhett Shaw. Rhett Shaw was the other person in that video. He's like one of the top 10 most successful guitar YouTubers in the world. Yeah, he agreed with me also. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. I think my honest opinion is that we live in a time where like most pedals in the world are good. I'm sure there are exceptions to that, but if you just walk into a guitar store and buy a pedal, it's probably gonna work. It's probably gonna do what it's supposed to do, and the knobs on it are probably gonna give you a range of options. And so I think they're all sort of usable. I don't think you need to be very careful that like if you buy from this brand, it's just gonna break the next day. I don't think they're like scam for the most part. For the most part, I don't think they're like major scam brands where you like I heard an urban legend once about a guy who bought a camcorder on the street and it was like in a box, and then he took it home and opened it and it was a brick wrapped in bubble wrap. Like, I don't think that's going to happen to you if you go to Guitar Center and buy a fuzz pedal, any fuzz pedal. Um, and I think whatever fuzz pedal you do buy is going to be usable. I don't think they're all the same, but I think they're all going to be usable. And then the real answer to your question, which I have no problem saying, is that I also think like part of being a good musician is just being able to make something sound fine. I think you should be able to do that. I've said this before. Like I think you should just be able to pick up a guitar and find a way to make it sound good. So that's why I don't think it really matters. I mean, obviously it matters. I have my favorites just like anybody else. That's fine. But I just think that it's like possible to get a functional fuzz pedal basically anywhere. And then once you have one that's functional, I think it's just on you to like, I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? It's a fucking fuzz pedal, right? So maybe it'll be too fizzy, right? Okay, so then turn it down. You go to the tone knob and turn it down until it's not so fizzy, right? Or like maybe you need it to self-oscillate and this one doesn't do that. Oh, okay, well then maybe you're right. Maybe it matters, you got me. Why do you think the guitar YouTube world focuses so heavily on gear versus creating interesting music? I feel your channel finds a middle ground between those two areas. Thank you, Elliot. I don't know. I don't really want to speak for anyone else. I mean, I don't know. I feel like creating interesting music is a challenge. You sort of have to have like a certain amount of creative power to be able to do that. So what would you do if you didn't have that? You might talk a lot about gear. I don't want to like insult other gear YouTubers here. I think many of them are creative and good, but one thing I say, this comes up anytime I do any Ask Me Anything, like being creative is hard. It's a challenge. So, that I feel like that's maybe some of it. Oh look, AM Remorse, the notorious AM Remorse answered my question for me. Oh, all right, let's keep going to the pre-submitted ones. Oh yeah, here's a question I got. I said I would answer. Oh, look, sorry, I want to address this. Thank you for the explanation. I didn't mean it confrontationally. I seek only to understand. There's no need for you to say that. I'm sorry if I know by the end of my answer, it seemed like I was treating you as if you had been confrontational, but that I know it's not because you meant it confrontationally. It's because I'm a confrontational person. And normally by the end of me saying anything, it's become sort of hostile, but it's not, you didn't do anything wrong. Look at this, Danny Underwood. Demonstrating with your mouth. What is your favorite sound to make? I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could make sounds that I thought were good. The most fun I ever have is I'll just try to make the most unattractive sound I can make. I'll do that sometimes. I'll just try to make like a sound. Sometimes I fantasize about making a record that is just like voice memos on my cell phone of me testing out the most unattractive sounds I can make. It'll be stuff like I have like innumerable voice memos of that. Sometimes I fantasize about making an album that's just that. Like every track is like 2 seconds, and all of them have the sound quality of a cell phone recording. Okay. What do you? Oh, I want to hear the most annoying sound in the world. Yeah, exactly. Right. What are your thoughts on the Klon Centaur? I don't have, believe it or not, I don't have thoughts. I've never played one of the real ones. I'm not even aware of which ones are the clones and which ones I've played. I'm sorry. I realize this might be disappointing, but I don't know. I don't have formed opinions about it. It probably sounds good. Okay. All right. Here's a pre-submitted question I got from I don't know how to say this username. Anyone art, maybe is how you would say that. I don't know. How sad is it to be a talented musician as you are during a time when most of the people don't give a damn about discovering new stuff? So This is not the thing that makes me sad, and I'm also not convinced that most of the people don't give a damn about discovering new stuff. Most of the people I know who listen to music have discovered new music recently. It's just hard. It's just hard to cut through, right? I mean, there's like every day 100 million people upload their indie album to Spotify using DistroKid, you know. So no matter how good the recommendation algorithms are, like why are they gonna pick yours? And also, like, who in the world is like going to Spotify and is typing in like, please find for me a new indie artist who has less than 30 monthly streams that it's good, right? Nobody's typing that. Everybody's relying on something else to tell them what new music to discover. So I don't think it's that we live in like a wasteland where nobody gives a shit about talent. I just think that uh, there's a lot of talented people out there that you're competing against, and everybody has limited attention, and it's just a very competitive field. You know, I mean, uh, I think it's like easier to learn about music than it's ever been. Like we are truly living in an information age. I mean, like you can literally go to school to study bebop. I mean, that's what professional jazz musicians do, who go to school. And like the people who invented bebop, this is a tired point, but I'm not making the usual cranky tired point people make when they say this. The people who invented bebop didn't go to school for it. They just heard it in their head because they were brilliant. And so they just beamed it and they invented it that way. Now, it used to be that's like kind of what you had to do to be like a champion musician. Like you sort of just had to hear some unbelievable shit in your mind that would revolutionize the world and then catch it and play it. And then people had to like it. Well, what if you don't have that in your mind already? Well, the good news is you can learn about it. There's many, many, many resources you can learn about it. I don't mean to say that the great bebop musicians were just stone cold geniuses who didn't have to practice and didn't learn anything. They did learn from each other and they did practice, and I'm sure they also studied music, but it was just harder to do it. Whereas in today's world, like I don't fucking wake up in the morning and just hear the chord changes to giant steps in my mind. But I don't have that gift. But the good news is that like there was a guitar teacher who sort of explained how music works to me. And then there's a million other fucking books you can read and videos you can watch. And since I've read a bunch of them and watched a bunch of them, I can now sort of understand some stuff I was not gifted enough to understand without education. So what this means is that like there's a lot more people who can now show up and be good because there's so many different ways to learn. So it's just extremely competitive. So the part that makes me sad is just that it's very hard to get people to care about your thing. I discovered by accident that if you also make videos about like products that people can buy, shit will start going well for you. My YouTube channel didn't begin as the pedal thing. It was like my videos about orange juice and music videos from my band. And I was like, well, maybe if I make the music video good, people will just like it. And people did, but not like what happened with the pedal shit. So what was my point? Just that, so yeah, I don't think the problem is that no one cares about talent. I just think that there's innumerable talented people walking the earth, and it takes nothing to set up a distro kit and get your music out there. So it's just you're competing against like a lot of really talented people. I like your channel. What will you be cyber attacking in the near future? Cool, good question. I'm gonna make a slightly different video called Ring Modulation: How to Begin, and it's not going to be talking about one pedal. It's going to be talking about many different ring modulation pedals. And I'm going to be talking about sort of ring modulation as like a class of effect. And even though it's very atonal and weird, there are ways you can use it that are not just weird for the sake of weird. And so it's going to be a video with 5 pro tips about how to do that. Accelerating Universe. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, man. Cool. Oh, look at this. Are you still doing the email pro videos? I put that on the back burner. That's crazy that you know about that. Email Pro was this thing I used to do where I would just write an email to strangers on a live stream like this. Like anybody could show up and be like, write an email to my landlord. And then I would share my screen and write an email to this person I never met. It was like experimental comedy, kind of. Um, I stopped doing that when the pedal shit became like big business. I feel like it was maybe the most creative, weird, original thing I've ever done, but it just did not catch on the way the other stuff I did caught on. I'd like to sort of ride the pedal train as far as I can, and then someday bring back Email Pro and the weirdness. Um, all right. Have you ever tried peanut butter and pickles together on a sandwich? No. If so, what is your pickles and peanut butter advanced pro tip on the ugly win? Oh wow. Well, I'm glad you know about my like secret religion of ugly wins as being the key to life. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think peanut butter and pickles sounds like it would be disgusting, but I can accept the fact that other people would think that's good. Maybe you would think it's good. You're on your own though. I don't know how to help you with that. Any advice for someone struggling to finish songs? Yes. I've talked about this in previous Ask Me Anythings if you want even more, but I'll give you an answer now. Um, you know, it can be easier to try to write multiple songs at the same time so that anytime you get any little idea, you can see if it fits any of the songs you're trying to finish, right? If you have like 10 different unfinished songs and then you hear some cute little melody and you're like, oh, maybe that's the keeper, you can see which of those 10 songs it fits in, and then maybe you'll finish that one. Another trick is to just uh like make a little demo of it yourself and then listen to it, but pretend you're listening to some other song you've heard that you didn't write. Pretend you're just listening to like the radio, and then right when it finishes, just try to get really quiet and hear in your mind where do you want it to go next. Like pretend this is a song someone else wrote and it's stuck in your head, and now you're listening to it in your head because it's got stuck there. Where does it go when it gets to the end of the little recording you made? See if that gives you anything. um, what is the ugly win? I've talked about this. Is another thing I've talked about, but the ugly win is just the idea. It's like a boxing metaphor. It's like sometimes you see a guy win a fight and he looks like shit, but he won because he just was willing to endure more pain than his opponent. Right? You like see one of these champions with like you can't open his eyes and there's like blood on his face and it's very ugly, but he won because he was willing to just tolerate more excruciating agony than the opponent. I think that's a good quality to have if you're pursuing a career in the music business. It can be a long fight, and it can take a long time to see a return, and it's just not going to be painless. And so if you're expecting to make no mistakes or for there to be no wounds, I think you're probably not going to be able to finish. But if you can just begin to expect it, like it might take longer than I wanted to get where I want to go. And by the time I get there, I might be kind of a different person than I am now. I think that mindset will serve you. Um, Oh, this is a cool one from Dustin Wilburn. That reverse playing thing. So I have a video called How to Never Buy Pedals Again Part 2. And in one of those, I show how you can make it sound like you're playing backward just using technique. Did you try reversing the playing? No, but someone else suggested that. It would be cool. I'd imagine it would kind of turn out Twin Peaks. Thank you. Yeah, I think it would sound cool. Big fan of the Cyberattack song. Thank you for listening to the original music. People who want to watch my YouTube channel at the most advanced level is you got to find my album. It's called Hard Feelings. It's on Spotify and everywhere else. That's the most advanced level. When I when I made that record before the pedal shit happened, before I became like a YouTuber guy. And I used so many crazy effects and got so many crazy sounds on the album I made that I thought that album was going to do for me what YouTube did for me. I really thought like, man, when like people hear this, they're going to be like, how the fuck did you get that sound? Like what is that? What instrument is that? Is that a guitar? How did you do it? Like I thought people were just going to get knocked out by all the different crazy things I did with effects. And that isn't really what happened. I didn't know that I had to sort of maybe break it down for people a little bit more the way I do in a pedal video, where I'm like, this is what it sounds like by itself. Here's how I think about it. Here's how I would put it in a song. I just sort of did all that in the studio and didn't tell anybody, and then released the songs, and people are like, oh yeah. So anyway, that's something I learned the hard way. Are you experienced with pedals? Do you ever create chains on the aux send on an audio console and mess with the feedback similar to a dub environment? Any tips on getting an endless ring out? I've never done any of those things. I'm really sorry, you guys. You've surpassed me. I've never done any of that. It sounds cool. It sounds like you know. It sounds like you can answer your own question. I don't know what the answer is, but just anyone who comes up to me and says, you know, do you ever create chains on the aux send? It just sounds like you know how to do that. You don't. I don't have any pro tips for you. The pro tip is just like, just go do that. It sounds like it'll be good. What if your first experience with a musician was getting money from them to listen to their whole album? What's the minimum price point where it would be an intriguing option? Well, I don't understand the question, Stephen Byer. I'm sorry. What if your first experience with a musician was getting money from them to listen to their, like, if someone paid you to listen to their record? I mean, that's a cool way to get paid. There's, you know what I mean? Just take the money and listen to it. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Please clarify. I'll check it out. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I have a collaboration going with this guy. I still gotta download the tracks and put some cool stuff on it. I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry I'm behind. But also I love what you're doing on Instagram. Everybody look up this guy. He does great stuff. What are your thoughts on math rock? Cool or drool? I don't know a ton about this. Is like, what are examples of math rock bands? Is Mudvayne math rock, or is that like new metal? Help me. I don't know a lot about it. Or it's like, what's Dillinger Escape Plan? Is that math rock? If it's like progressive metal, I tend not to like that, actually. I don't really like to generalize, but one of the genres that I sometimes think I don't like is like very technical, very crazy progressive metal or progressive rock stuff where it's just like weird riffs. I don't really want riffs to be weird. If I'm going to listen to riffs, I want riffs to be like crushing and awesome. You know what I mean? I want riffs to remind me of Back in Black, where it's just like, it just murders you and is perfect. And that's not the vibe I get from a lot of progressive rock. Have you ever considered using pedals on your voice, like one of the Boss or Roland voice transformers, as opposed to the boring auto-tune sound? You know, I actually haven't. That people have asked me about this. Up through the making of my last album, I actually very specifically did not want to do this, because I just felt like at the end of the day, I still feel like I'm writing these like indie rock jams that are like, actually, that's not even true. I feel like I'm trying to write like little pop songs, like these like 3-minute songs. Like I take pride in the fact that like most of my songs are under 3.5 minutes. I believe that you can like look at how long a song is and decide if it's good. I really believe that. Like if you look at my album and you see that, like, you know, the songs are short, it's like, that's how you know that they're good. So what I wanted to do, my vision for this was like, I'm gonna get some really fucking weird sounds, and we're gonna get noise, and we're gonna like blast noise. Like there was a day where we like I have a song on my record called Sure Thing that has like bursts of noise, and we like spent a bunch of time in the studio like getting the noise and playing the noise bursts. And then we like came back from lunch, and somebody found like a different noise setting on the synthesizer that was like better. I'm talking about the difference between like and, you know what I mean? Like we spent the morning having it be, and then we came back and somebody's like, wait, listen to this. And then we're like, fuck, we got to redo it. We got to redo it. And then we did. We redid the entire song using like instead of, because we thought like that, it has to be perfect. So, you know, that's what tracking my album was like. By the time it was like time to do the vocals and the lyrics, I was like, we got to stop fucking around. Like I wanted to give people something that you could just sort of listen to and like not be repulsed by. Yeah, like, I wanted to have it be not hostile. And also, like, the song's about me and my feelings. Like, I just wanted to be my voice. I took all these fucking singing lessons to be able to do it. I didn't want to hide, and I didn't want to have it be like, oh, what is he saying? Who's back there? Like, I wanted to make weird tracks that were fucking hostile and cool and weird, and then sing my cute little melodies over them with my little lyrics. That's my voice. Like, that to me was like the sort of larger artistic project of the whole first Cyberattack record. It was like the voice is just going to sound like Ivan singing it, and then the tracks are going to be a total fucking mystery. So um that's why I didn't want to do that. Maybe it's time to rethink that. Okay, all right, cool. Let's go back to some of the pre-submits. There's so many pre-submitted questions here. Okay. All right, you know what? I'll do this one from Stephen Byer. Stephen Byer, you sent me a big one. This is like one of the big ones I got. We're doing it now. Are you still in there? Are you still in the chat? What is your biggest strength and biggest insecurity as a musician? Happy to talk about this. The biggest insecurity, things that come to mind. One thing I've noticed is that I often just come in a little ahead of the beat. I mean, I record myself so much, because I got to make all these YouTube videos in addition to the real music and the collaborations and the stuff that I'm doing. And I've just noticed that, like, you look at the waveforms in your little Pro Tools or whatever, it's like, you're supposed to come in on beat 1 of measure 52, and the waveform starts a little before that. I've noticed I just come in early. Sometimes I can fix it by just dragging the whole thing back. Not too proud to admit to you all that I do that. Sometimes if it'll fix it, or I'll just have to redo it until I stop coming in early. So I'm a little insecure about that, because coming in ahead of the beat is not cool. Coming in on the beat is fine, is good. It's almost never going to be an issue if you're just on the beat. And coming in behind the beat is cool. That's like, the hip thing to do. Coming in ahead is usually sort of just like, come on, man, don't do that. So, you know what I've been doing? I got a metronome app on my phone, and I'm trying to like improve my inner sense of time in my spare time. This is what I do. I'll like set the metronome to 20 BPM. That's like a tick every 3 seconds. And then I'll like try to keep time to that. It's fucking hard. You guys ever try to snap along to like 20 BPM? This is what it's like. And did you nail it? Like, was that exactly right? But it's that long. You got to cross like this huge ocean of time, of silence, to get to the next tick. So I've been trying to improve my time a little bit, but I'm a little insecure that I made it this far in life, and that I don't have that like 100% locked down. Also, I had to work really hard to make my singing good enough. When I first started Cyberattack, I was actually auditioning singers, and I would like, people would. I mean, auditioning is kind of a weird word, because a lot of what it was just like I asked around for people who knew singers, and then we would get together and sort of play together. It wasn't like people showed up and I was like, okay, hello, what's your name? Sing a major seventh. It wasn't like auditioning like that. But I would jam with these guys, and they were all good. And I would be like, all right, here's a song I wrote. You want to try singing it? And then I would have to like sing it to them, and then they would sing it. And I noticed that like when I sang it in that little minute, I was like, I kind of just want them to sing it like I just sang it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could just be the singer. So then I was like, okay, I'll just try that. And then it was like so much harder than I thought it would be. But I worked really hard on it, and, did it. And it's one of those things where like I had to work so hard on it that now I know I can do it, but I also know how hard it is. That's the thing. It's like they say, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sometimes whatever doesn't kill you just makes you understand how brutal it is. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I know how to do it. It's just fucking hard, but okay. So But both of these are things, let me just point out that like the things that I'm insecure about are both things that it's like within my power to improve and fix. I'm trying to work on my time. I'm just continuing to try to have my voice be good. It's not like neither of those are like fatal problems. You know what I mean? Okay, then biggest strength. Um, uh, I think that I guess I really think that like think my biggest strength is my creativity. But also, or just the fact that like I care about that. Like I don't want to just say like, well, I'm very creative, so I just have that. I don't really see it that way. I see it more like it's very important to me to try to be creative. I insist on sort of pursuing that. I insist on doing stuff that will force me to be creative. Uh, and I think that's how you end up being a person that people will call creative. Um, but also I also think that like as creative as I am, I can also, I think I can play guitar well. Like I took a lot of guitar lessons. I practiced a lot. I think I can shred. I'm not the best shredder in the world, but I think I'm like in the club, And when I say that, I mean like I can show off. Like if it's like time to just show off, I can just show off. I don't do it in every video, but I do it in some of them, you know. So it's not that I'm like there are a lot of shredders who can do a lot of shit that I can't do, but I'm also aware that I'm creative enough that I can do stuff with the technique I have that almost seems like more intense than it is. Like when I first started playing gigs with my band in New York City, this was like a previous band, but when I first started really playing shows a lot in New York, sometimes we would also that band was like a little bit more of a hard rock band than Cyberattack. It was like a little bit more like 80s rock. There was like a little more riffs. And I also didn't really use effects as much. Like I was just playing a Boss super overdrive into a Marshall JCM 800. That was my sound, So it was like just about like distortion and guitar solos and like no noise or a lot less weird bullshit. And we were playing with bands that were also in that world. And sometimes I would be on bills with guitar players who could play faster than I could. It didn't happen a lot, but it happened sometimes. And often when it did happen, I would see that guy and be like, oh, well, I guess he's the speed demon tonight. And then afterwards, people would be like, dude, where did you learn to play guitar like that? And how did you get so fast? And like people would talk about me, like I was the fastest guy. And I realized a big part of it was because like I had written songs for that band that were like grabbing people's attention, and my solos had like creative stuff in them that people were noticing. And so they were like paying more attention to me. And then they would notice that some of the stuff I did was kind of fast. And the guys who were faster than me, just like the overall presentation of those bands often just didn't, they were less creative, and so they commanded less of people's attention. The songs weren't as cool, the solos were not as interesting, the phrasing wasn't as hip. Like they were on a musical level, they were like less creative and less charismatic, and so people didn't even know that they were playing shit I could not play. They just thought that I was the guy who could play the best. And I maybe wasn't necessarily. So I think that like even though I'm not the most insane shredder, it seems like I can shred maybe even more than I can, because I think I come up with it's because I try to be very creative and I push myself to like make the guitar solo as surprising and charismatic and interesting as possible. And I get pretty obsessed about stuff, like not just about like I like every note I can get fixated on. Like if I'm doing a solo that's like going to be on a record, I have no problem like overdubbing phrase to phrase to phrase to phrase to make everything perfect. I love being sort of spontaneous and improvisational and loose too, But if that stuff doesn't sound as good as I want it to, I have no problem making records the most painstaking, agonizing way possible, you know, where like I have like, I want every note to um sound musical and cool. Like sometimes it's not even like the note, it's like the shit right before the note. Like sometimes I'll scratch the strings right before a phrase, and then I'll play the phrase. And like for whatever reason, that scratch has to be there for the phrase to have the musical meaning that I intended to have. So sometimes like I'll play everything right, and then I'll have to overdub the before it just to make it be the what it's supposed to be. Or sometimes I'll play everything right, but then the release of the note, the note will end on the wrong thing. And it's not because I'm just trying to be uptight. To me, it's like, Michael Jackson's singing. Like Michael Jackson is a singer. Like the breath before the phrase was part of it. The way he would do that before he's saying something, that was part of it for him. Or like even he would change how words were pronounced for melodic reasons, right? Like, I mean, sometimes people make fun of him for saying Shimon instead of come on. But like, there's a level here that you ignore at your own peril, you know? Like MJ he got to a point where he was like, in order for this to be sung exactly the way I want it to be sung, come on won't cut it. Has to be Shimon. Sometimes he did say come on, but sometimes he said Shimon. He had reasons. You know what I mean? So I can get like that with the notes of a guitar solo, where like one note is not just like a tiny little thing. That note has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And sometimes like I have to retract shit because that's not right. Now, I don't think that's my strength necessarily, but it's like part of trying to create a larger thing, and I'm part of like hearing every phrase as like a real phrase. And in order for it to be a phrase, this shit starts to matter. That was kind of a long answer. Let's see what else did I miss here while we were going. I missed a lot of stuff. Sorry. Look at all these great comments. Okay, a bunch of people named math rock bands. I've never heard of any of those bands. Maybe I should educate myself and learn more about them. Okay, man, there's so much stuff here. I'm like, sorry, I'm stalling out by looking at how much I missed. Here's a fun one. How do most of your song ideas start? Well, there's like many different types of ideas. Like the ideas for titles will be things I just hear people say, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds like a song title. I like to start from the title, actually. I like to have the title just be what the song is going to be. Like, I mean, it feels sort of tacky to give you one of my own examples. Like Born to Run, the Bruce Springsteen song. Like, what a perfect title. I don't know where he got it, but I'm sure as soon as it occurred to him, he was like, oh, what a song title. That's going to be good. Born to Run. You know what I mean? Like, I like to have a title that I think is so good that it's no question to me that the song will just have to be titled that. And then all I really have to do is like flesh out the rest of it. I like to work that way, where I sort of know what the song is. It's going to be whatever the title is, idiot. You know what I mean? So I'm constantly on the lookout for shit people say, so like I imagine if I'd never heard the song Born to Run, and then someday I just heard someone say that, and I was like, ugh, whoa, sorry, I got to write that down. Born to Run. That's such a good title. And then I found out later that it was like a very famous Bruce Springsteen song. that would like give me a heart attack. Musically, I have to make all these YouTube videos all the time. I just try to keep a list in my mind of like all the cool sounds, all the cool chord progressions. I try to just save as any tiny cool little idea in any form. I just try to grab onto them for dear life. I think I have a decent memory. I feel like I have a pretty good memory. But I also try to write stuff down and make little voice memos on my phone and back it up on my computer, so that like anytime I hear anything, if I think it's cool, if it makes me go like, what was that? Do that again. I'm always on the lookout for anything that was like, oh, I want to hear that again. I heard a Billy Corgan tell a story once about how he was like at a party at some girl's dorm room that he was like trying to hook up with. And then somebody put on How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. He'd never heard it before. And as soon as he heard that beginning of that song, he was just like, what the fuck is that? He like lost all interest in the party. Just like, what is that sound? What is that song? What is that record? So I'm always on the lookout for anything that even has like a fraction of that power. And then I just try to hold on to it and then write like 20 different songs at the same time so that every time I get a new little, ooh, what was that? I can see if it fits any of the other songs. Hi, Cyberattack. How do you approach sounding different each song? I feel like I always choose the same chords and rhythms. Also, separate question, why male models? I don't know what the male models part of this question is about. I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know what the question is. How do I approach sounding different? Well, I don't try to sound that different. I like AC/DC. I think it's cool that like if you want that, you can just have it by listening to any AC/DC song. So I don't worry about it that much. But if you always choose the same chords and the same rhythms, well, it's good that you've already identified that's why your songs sound the same. It's good that you know that the issue is that you use the same chords and the same rhythms, because now all you have to do is force yourself to do something with different chords and with different rhythms. And you know what those are, right? If you always use, I mean, look, I don't know how much music theory you have. This is a good example of why it's good to have some though, because you might think you always use the same chords and those chords are like A, D, and G. And that's one way of thinking about it, but I would actually not think of it that way. I would think of it as you have, those three chords are like the chords of A mixolydian, or if you prefer, the 1, 4, and 5 chords of D major. You always use those. But guess what? There's like other chords in the key of D major. So what if instead of 1, 4, 5, you used, 6 and 2 and 3? I realize I may have just lost you. I'm sorry if that's what happened. If you don't know what I'm talking about by chords, by saying things like chords 2, 3, and 6, it might be time to learn some music theory, because it can help you do shit like this. And the same thing for rhythms, like whatever tempo is always the tempo you use, figure out what BPM it is. Just find a pedal that has a tap tempo and tap in the tempo you always use, and then use a different tempo. Force yourself to find a tempo that's not the thing you do, and find some chords that's not the thing you do, and then use your ears to hear where else it wants to go. And if your ears have nothing, if you like find the new tempo and you play something and there's nothing there, then listen to some weird music that you hate or that you've never heard before. You type in something, you find some music you've never heard before, or maybe even better, listen to something you hate and then try to figure out like the best thing about it. That's a really good exercise. Listen to a song you hate, especially a song that was successful and popular, and force yourself to sort of like admire one thing about it. See if you can. If you get good at doing stuff like that, one day you're going to wake up and your inner ear is not going to be silent anymore. There's going to be an idea there. Talking about shred, nice. Any advice to use techniques in a more musical way? I feel like I use shred to compensate for a lack of the perfect melody or riff. Does it happen to you? No, I don't think I use shred to compensate. I feel like to be honest, I feel like I can't even play fast enough to do that. I can play fast enough to express cool ideas when I have them if I practice, but I often don't like the sound of me using licks if I'm out of ideas. I usually think it sounds terrible. So use techniques in a more musical way. Yeah, I mean, see, if you can, like, try to write it in your mind and then figure out how to play it. Like, don't just string together the shredding you can do. Like, try to hear what you want to play and then try to grab that and then practice so that you can play it. That's how a lot of my coolest solos are. Is like, I'll be fucking around playing stuff that I think is dumb and bad. And then I'll be like, oh, wait a minute. What if it went to this instead? Oh, I can't really play that. But now at least I know what I want to do. And then practice your way to being able to play that. Again, this sort of requires you to have like an inner you need to be able to hear something inside you. So I hope you have that. And then the way to think about this is like, forget about shredding or not shredding. Just try to play what the thing you want to hear is. And if there's nothing there and you don't know what you want to hear, that's a more serious problem, but you're not hopeless. I would just say, do what I said for the other guy. And then if that doesn't work, come to my next AMA and we'll figure something else out. Your music sounds like the Beach Boys meets Ratatat. It's incredible, man. Thank you. Thank you. I love that comment. I feel I'm very grateful that you would listen to my music and then get it on that level and then show up at my AMA and type that. Thanks a lot for doing that. Yeah, I mean, I like the Beach Boys a lot and I like Ratatat. I'll say this though. I remember when Ratatat came out, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. But there was a part of me that always wished he shredded more. The guitar player in Ratatat. He's something about that guitar tone. The guitar tone of Ratatat is like, oh, shred is coming. I can feel it. He's doing this. He's going to do like some insane video game shred thing. And then that never quite happened. And I always kind of wish there was like a Ratatat song where he was just like, guess what, everybody? I can do this, So I like Ratatat, but there was a part in me that was like, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna have the tone where people are like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna do some insane video game shred thing, and then I'm gonna do it. MJ was the king of pop and he had serious talent. Do you think the current state of pop music is abysmal? No, I don't think it's abysmal. I think did in MJ's time, there was also very dumb, insipid, terrible pop music, but we don't really hear it anymore because people woke up and realized that it was terrible. And so when we listen to the pop music of the 80s, we listen to the best pop music of the 80s. And when we listen to the pop music of the 70s, we listen to the best pop music of the 70s, right? But when we listen to the pop music of today, we listen to all of the pop music of today, the good and the bad. So you're always sort of looking back on what you remember as being representative, but it was not really representative. It's the best. And then when you put on, Z100, you're not really getting the stuff that we're still going to think is good. 10 years from now, you're getting all of it. So I don't think it's abysmal. I also think that there's like an innumerable amount of music out there and it's like hard to sift through. Oh, look at this. More Stephen Byron music questions. How do you know when it's time to further polish up your music and when it's better to release it despite not as being perfect as you might prefer? Well, dude, it sounds like you need some collaborators. It sounds like you need someone who you just look up to, who could be in charge of a decision like this, like a producer or a mixer, this is why I like to, I write all the music for Cyberattack, and on some of the songs on my record, I'm also playing every fucking instrument myself. But that's why I really wanted a producer who could be like, okay, Ivan, you're full of shit here. So that's the one good way to do it. Another thing is like, when it's time to further polish up your music. I mean, when you hear it, are there things that you want to fix that you know how to fix? Or does the whole thing just seem sort of not good enough yet? Because those are like two different things, maybe. Like if I listen back to a song and I'm trying to decide whether it's done, and then I notice that like I come in early again on the big guitar solo, well, I know how to fix that. And at that point, it becomes sort of impossible for me to let it go because I'm like, ooh, man, I got to get back into the session and slide that waveform back like 100 milliseconds and then it'll be fixed. It's very hard for me to let stuff like that go if I know that the solution is just to go in there and do the thing. If I instead think the whole thing just doesn't sound very good, that's worse. That's worse. That's when you got to start asking people you trust, like, do I need to start over? Like, what's the issue here? Am I sick of hearing it? Maybe don't listen to it for a while. That's always a good thing to do. Don't listen to it for a while and then listen to it again some other day. I really, really, really try to write songs that I think are so cool and good that I'm still excited about them by the time it's ready to release them, at which point I will have listened to them a gazillion times and at which point I'll be totally fucking sick of them. because you got to listen to them 100 times when you're writing them, and then you got to listen to them 100 times when you're trying to record them, and then when they start mixing it, you got to listen to them 100 times to judge the mixes, and then when you got to pick the order and the mastering, you got to listen to them 100 times to make that decision. So by the time it's like, okay, we're done, we can put the record on now. I really try to come up with songs that I think are so cool that I'll still kind of be proud of them by that time. And that's hard. You know, I haven't released like a bazillion songs in my life. This is probably part of why. Man, so many guys, I'm sorry that I'm like not going to be able to get through all of these. I noticed that the solos on your releases are relatively short, fast, and sweet. Is there ever a time when you feel like extended soloing is needed? Yeah, there like once though. I like it when there's like the one song where it goes off. You know, I used to think I still think it's so fucking cool that the last song on Weezer Blue album is Only in Dreams. The last song is like the 8-minute intense one that has like this really emotional solo in it and the whole build up and everything. I think it's so cool that it's like you get that whole album that's like short, tight little Weezer jelly beans, and then the last song is like, okay, we earned it. So yeah, but I would say once though. I'm on the first Cyberattack album, the version of the song, this version of that is the Tom Petty cover I released called Listen to Her Heart. And even that was going to be longer. I've talked about this before. The original version of Listen to Her Heart went on longer and had a much more gratuitous noise thing at the end. It just ended with like minutes of noise. And my producer was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I was like, no, it's cool to do that because all these other songs are so short and sweet and everything has been so disciplined. It's cool to have one song that is hostile. And he was like, well, you know, it's hostile enough by the time it gets to whatever it is, like 4.5 minutes. You don't need to then go crazy. We had a fight about it. Okay. So anyway, yes, thank you for this comment. All right, let's go back to the pre-submitted ones. I got, where's AM Remorse? That guy asked like a bunch of intense ones. He like submitted like 40 really hardcore questions. And then I had to like condense it to ones I thought I could really answer. Yeah, to see is like a 2-part comment on the screen. When you write a piece of music and you have an intro of about 2 minutes with no vocals, do you feel the need to appease the masses by cutting it short and making it a little more lean? Even if you yourself like it long and drawn out, who wins? Your artistic vision or the box you feel you need to stay in? Well, you know, for starters, I feel like I have kind of I might be in a slightly different spot than you are, maybe. I don't know. Because I have pretty commercial taste at the end of the day, you know? Like I like Guns N' Roses. Like, you know, they were like a hugely popular band. I like commercial music. You heard me say before, I think you can judge songs by if they're like short, they're good. So I'm not even saying that like I am happy to go into the box that confines me. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying like that's my taste. Like it's rare that I end up with the 2-minute long drawn out intro because that's just not really how I hear stuff. Like what I hear is like do 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 do, and we're in, and that's it. You know, so so I think that helps me. Like I feel like I sort of pre-screen a lot of ideas. Well, maybe it doesn't help me, but I don't struggle with this a lot because I pre-screen most of my ideas just based on the fact that like most of the music I like is just, it was like hugely popular music that everybody liked. It was like already pretty tight. You know, the stuff I like that's not like that is like, you know, I listen to some crazy jazz music that is not like this at all. But I'm still not really trying to make that kind of music myself. Like when I listen to jazz and I love it, a lot of times I'm thinking like, oh, you know what? I want to do a version of this that is like, you know, lasts for 4 bars. It just comes in and is that and then is gone. Like that's sort of always how I want to use the things I steal. So I think that helps me a little bit. Okay, you mentioned teaching lessons in a previous. Yeah, I do. I have students over Zoom that found me on YouTube. I have a bunch of Zoom students. Anyone watching this, you could send me an email. It's in my YouTube bio. I'd love to take on more Zoom students. It would be fun. If you made it this far and you're watching and you want to take lessons from me, I want to take lessons to you as well. Would you consider making your favorite lessons into YouTube videos? I would. I'm also want to do like a video course. Rhett Schultz told me to do that. He was like, that's where the real money is. Like, make a video course that's like 10 parts and people can buy it and download it. I do want to do that. I haven't really figured out exactly what it would be, because I kind of don't want to do the pedals thing, because the pedals thing does well just on my channel. So what else is there? I don't know. I could maybe try to do like how recorded music works, like teach just about like the science of sound, like when you push record and then you snap in front of a microphone, what's happening from here into the mic, into the cable, into the console, into the computer. I studied that. I could try to explain it to people. Maybe that's the video course, is like a sort of quick and dirty, like a Cliff Notes version of going to engineering school or something. Or maybe it would be like a songwriting thing, or maybe it would just be music theory made simple. I hear people talk about music theory all the time in a way that is like so complicated and terrible. Like, go to any music forum and search for the most recent thread of somebody asking a question about the modes, and then just read it and like weep, because like everybody's answer is going to be like, it's actually not that complicated, and then they say a bunch of shit that's like complicated and terrible. And I feel like I was fortunate to have a guitar teacher who explained it to me in a way that made it like so not terrible. So part of me is tempted to do that. But I don't know. If you guys have ideas about what you would want the Cyberattack video course to be, let me know. Typically, when people are talking about guitar music, they skip over alternative and indie musicians. Why do you think there is no love for guitarists in these genres? Well, nobody's heard of them, right? That's the problem. It's like, the guy who sold a bazillion records is who people know. I don't think it's that people are like, oh, I know who the indie people are, but I'm not going to speak their names. I just think people don't know who they are. I think you got to consider, does that 2 minutes really stand on its own, ignoring what comes? Oh, you're talking to Am Remorse. Well, that's cool. I love it when you guys talk to each other. Yeah, right. I guess this is sensible advice. I think you got to consider, does that 2 minutes really stand on its own, ignoring what comes after, or is it the kind of thing people are going to skip the 7th time they listen to it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's hard to know what other people are going to do. I mean, I still just try to write a song that I want to hear, that I don't want to skip. And so for me to not skip a 2-minute intro, I really have to sort of justify that intro. I really have to feel like it's just like unskippable. I don't know. I feel like that's like not a very good answer. I'm sorry. All right. Let me go back to some of the pre-submitted ones here. Oh yeah. Okay. Here's another like crazy intense question I got. This is going to be too big for one comment. Oh, this is 3 comments. I've never even seen that before. Will you be incorporating any new synth gear on top of the somewhat niche toy of the OP1 in your sonic explorations to expand your palette and reach into a broader aspect of overall deep dives with pedals and maybe 500 series effects processors into How Do You Be Advanced? Also, with your future albums, I don't mean to be a catalyst into possibly fueling any bouts of gas, but as you know, what's the nature of these things? Wave for the frequencies. Yeah, I do want to get more into synthesis. I do. I only have the OP1. Yeah, I mean, synthesizers are expensive, and I said before, I kind of don't want to spend money on gear, so I'm trying to find a way to not have to spend money on it. But one thing I would love to get, and which I do want to make music with, and which I do want to make videos about, is a really cool sampler keyboard or sampler synthesizer. In fact, if anybody watching this has a recommendation, please let me know. I want the kind of thing where you can record into it in stereo. You can like record a cool little weird note. I could like play a major chord on my guitar and send it into some weird stereo pitch shifter. and make it crazy, and then record that chord and then map it to a keyboard and pitch shift it to every key and mangle the sample. I want to basically what I want is sort of a version of the Fairlight or the Synclavier. Those are like the two most expensive synthesizers in the world in the 80s. I would love for there to be a version of that. If anyone knows what that is, let me know. Okay. Here's what's another pre-submitted question. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You can borrow my Nord Lead 4. Well, thanks, man. What is the Nord Lead 4? Is that a sampler? I didn't know there was a Nord sampler. That's pretty cool if there is, that Nord has one. All right, here's a pre-submitted question from Brian Boney. How did you get so thoroughly advanced? Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for the question. Here's a story I can tell. It was sort of like an early thing that like forced me to try to think about things in a more creative way. When I was in 8th grade, I'd already been taking guitar lessons for a couple years, and I put a band together just to be in the talent show. And I was thinking about this talent show as like the thing that was gonna like reinvent who I was. I feel like anybody who started playing guitar in middle school is gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. People saw me one way, and I was like, I'm gonna change that by playing guitar in the talent show with a band. I was really ready for it to just completely rewrite who I was and my standing in the eyes of my peers. I was like, if this goes the way I think it might, I'm gonna have sex. That was the idea. So I put together a band where it was like, the kid in my grade who played drums was the drummer. The other kid in my grade, my buddy who played guitar, he was the other guitar player. The kid in our school who could play bass, he was the bassist. And then I like just convinced some kid to sing. He wasn't even a singer. I was just like, can you do it? And we played, our set in the talent show was Enter Sandman by Metallica and Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin. And I remember the night of the talent show, we were hanging out backstage, and my friend who was the other guitar player was friends with like 2 girls in our class that I thought were hot. And they were like hanging out because they were like friends with him. And I was like, okay, you see that, this is cool. They're probably going to see our act. And they're going to like, they're going to be curious about who I am and who I've been this whole time. So I was like, it's working. And then at intermission, we hadn't gone on yet. And they're like, okay, we're going to go. We're going to go to some party. They were like, went to go party with like guys in high school. And they're like, all right, goodbye. And I was like, hey, wait, you're going? Don't you? But we didn't go. Don't you want to see us? And they're like, sorry, we're going to go to this party. And I was like, yeah, but don't you want to know who wins the talent show? And one of the 2 girls, her name was Rose. I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. She looked at me and said, Ivan, you're just going to be the best. And then she left. And I remember thinking like, oh, fuck, this is going to be so much harder than I thought. Ivan, you're just going to be the best. And like, she didn't even give a shit. Like, she already knew, like, sure, Ivan, he's got supportive parents. He's been playing guitar. He has a private teacher. He takes it really seriously. He's a good student. I'm sure he's good. Why would I care? I remember learning like, you got to work pretty hard just to get good. And then that is not enough. That's not even close to enough. You could be the best guitar player in the 8th grade and people aren't even going to give a shit. You got to find something beyond that will make them care. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was then. But I remember like thinking like, this is going to be, I was already ready for it to be hard. And then I was like, this is going to be harder than I thought, because it's not even enough to be the best. You could literally be better than everyone else and people won't care yet. You have to find some other thing. So I then became very sort of grimly obsessed with finding whatever that other thing was. And it took a long time, and I don't even really feel like all my dreams have come true yet, but at least I have reached a point where I can do an Ask Me Anything on YouTube and people ask me questions like, how did you get so thoroughly advanced? Which is only even maybe like a drop in the bucket of glory. But that's the answer to the question, though. I mean, this sort of goes back to the ugly win thing I was saying before, which was that like I could have just said, well, I'm the best and people don't get it. So fuck this. People are dumb. And I didn't do that. You know, I think that's the subtext sometimes when people are like, doesn't it depress you that you could be talented and no one cares? You know, I would say depressed. I mean, music has depressed me. I've been depressed, but I don't ever think that it's like, oh, well, I'm just good and people don't get it. I've always sort of thought like, I have to find some other level to operate on that is going to connect with people. I've just assumed that's what the people I like did. That's what Michael Jackson did when he said Shimon, right? He found this other level that he got to after giving a fuck every day of his life since he was a tiny little baby. And he got to the Shimon level and he reached people who didn't even speak English. So that I don't get depressed because of that. I get depressed, but I've just always sort of thought like, okay, all right, I'm not sorry that I took a lot of guitar lessons, but that's not all there is. So that if whatever, however advanced I am, that just because of that, it's because that girl said that to me in 8th grade. Hi, thanks for the how to never buy pedals again videos. Do you know how to circuit bend? I don't think so. If circuit bending is like you unscrew the back of a pedal and then you like resolder shit, I don't know how to do that. But I do feel confident that I could make sounds that sound like I might know how to do it. I'll shoot you an email if you actually want to. Oh, you're talking about lending me a piece of gear? Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Let me see if I can just get somebody to give me one for free. And if I strike out, maybe I'll hit you up. Thank you. Step 1, play Enter Sandman. Step 2, Enter Sandwoman. That's funny. Yeah, that was the dream. That was the dream. The dream. Oh, look at this. This is the best AMA I've ever watched. Thanks, man. I love doing AMAs. I love it. It's a highlight of my month. How do you see your ideal career as musician, YouTuber, pedal maker? Oh, okay. This is like a career counselor question. I thought I was done with that. I thought I was done with career counselor questions. Yeah, I'd like to I mean, the thing I want, one, I'd like to make more money from it. I'm in the beginning of making money from it, and if I can grow the following, I'll be growing the money, and that'll be good. So I want that to keep going, including stuff like the lesson pack I was talking about before. But the thing I want more from this is to just have like a true following and a true audience where I can just like make the record and not worry about whether people are even going to hear it. Like I want to reach a point where like my stuff will just automatically be discoverable because I uploaded it to my channel and people are like, oh, I haven't put his record out. Let's hear it, And then there's some stuff I want to do that might not even be albums. It might not even be pedals. There's some other projects I might want to do that I might want to put on my YouTube channel. And I'm hoping like people will check it out. It's okay if some people hate it, and it's okay if it isn't like, I'm not saying I want everybody to love everything I do, but I want to have the sort of like scope of an audience where like everything you do is given at least a chance. Like people will listen to it and be like, all right, let's see if we like it or not. Because I've released a lot of music where that doesn't even happen. It's just like dropping a brick in the ocean. I can't tell you how many times I've like gone to sleep the night before the thing comes out, and I'm like, I think it's possible. It's possible. I mean, I'll wake up tomorrow and have like 100 emails. And then that's not what happens in the morning. Here's the last thing I'll say about the ugly win shit is like being in music for as long as I have. There have been many, 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 many times where there's an opportunity and you think, oh, this might change my life. I worked in a recording studio for a while for this guy who was sort of a producer, sort of like soup to nuts music content creator. Like if you needed him to produce your record, he'd produce it. If you needed him to write a jingle, he'd create it. If you needed him to like make a soundtrack for your film, he'd do it. Like he was just one of these guys who has the studio and knows how to make music, and he can do whatever you need him to do. And I was sort of the like assistant slash intern slash guitarist. He would like throw me in stuff. And there was this one, he got a call once for the PGA tour, the golf thing. They wanted to license some, this was a while ago. There was some kid who had some cool indie hit, some like indie star who had like an acoustic song that was like cool. And the PGA tour wanted to use it. And the kid said no. He's like, I'm not going to license my song to a bunch of golf assholes. So the PGA tour somehow found this guy I worked for and was like, can you create a sound alike for this, for us? And he called me and he was like, they need it tomorrow, but this could be huge, Ivan. If we can get this, if you can do a sound alike for this and we get this contract, man, you're gonna have a lot of money. That's what he said. You could, whether or not you believe it, I don't know. But so I was like, they need it tomorrow morning, huh? So I stayed up all night. I listened to this kid's song. I wrote a sound alike. I even sang some shit. I wrote some lyrics and sang it. I sent it all to him. He like cleaned it up and made it work. And then he sent it to the golf people. And he was like, seriously, this guy who had been in the music biz for decades and like knew what was realistic and was not, was like, Ivan, this could be huge for us. This could be huge for you. I can't tell you how many times I've done stuff like that, where the phone rings and you pick it up. You know, there's the knock on the door and you open it. And they're like, well, you got to stay up all night tonight and work harder than you ever worked and do this thing. And I did it. And then the golf people were like, yeah, that sounded real good, but we're going to pass. You know, or like, I'll give you another example. There's a million fucking examples. Like 10 years ago, there was this like craze for videos on YouTube that was like, what shit so-and-so says. Like there was 100 of these videos where it was like, shit Nickelback fans say, you know, shit cheerleaders say, shit theater kids say. Like it was just like, it was the meme of the day. And I was in a band, and for whatever reason, we had a rehearsal on the day that this shit just went crazy. And they're like, oh, why don't we just make one that this shit rock bands say? And we banged it out, and it was kind of funny. And then I like taught myself how to use iMovie. This was like the early days of Ivan knowing how to make a video. And then we made this video and we uploaded it to YouTube. And I was like, that should be it, right? You know, we made the video. The format is popular. It's on YouTube. I think we're going to wake up tomorrow and have like 100,000 views. Like I remember going to sleep saying to my girlfriend, like, I think tomorrow morning might be a big day. And then it had like, 500 views. It just didn't happen. And then guess what? Guess what happened after that? That band rallied and decided like, no, we're not going to cry. We're not giving up. We're going to make a fucking viral video. So the drummer of that band made a video for one of our songs where he found every word of the song. He found an example of a different popular music video where they say that word. So like if the first lyric of the song is like, before we say goodnight, he found somebody saying before in a Weezer video, and he found somebody saying we in a Britney Spears video, and he's found somebody saying say in a Katy Perry video. And it was this like insanely huge project he just did where he edited together all the different videos of all these famous people singing every lyric of a song we had. And then he put that on YouTube, and it did go viral. That video, it paid off. We got 120,000 views in like a week or something. And then YouTube disqualified some of the views. I don't even remember why. We were pissed. It went down to 70,000 views. But the point was that it got viral. Like it happened. Like the thing we thought was going to happen for the shit rock band say that didn't happen. It happened for this other thing. Like the dream came true. And then it was just like, well, we didn't know what to do with that. Like, what do you do? What do you do with 70,000 views? Like, we didn't fucking know. Dude, there wasn't anything else on our YouTube channel that was that cool. We didn't know how to capitalize on the opportunity. We didn't have another single ready to go. We didn't have an album ready to go. We didn't know how to make another video like that. We just sort of got 70,000 views. And then YouTube was like, okay, could you do that again? And we're like, By the way, if you want to look this up, this song is called Make a Move. And the band is called Sweet Fix. I used to be in a band called Sweet Fix. And that was the song we wrote. And the video is still there. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, the point was like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to bed thinking like, I think when I wake up tomorrow, things are going to be different. And sometimes it's not different, but sometimes you even get the thing you want and it doesn't change anything. So that's why, you have to be ready for it to be an ugly win. You know, if anybody watching this is thinking about a career in the music business, I'm not saying give up, but you're going to be tempted to give up because of how long it's going to take, you know? So take care of yourself. You know, you might have to work for 10 years, and then on the 10th year, something big will happen and it'll be real this time. And are you going to be ready for your close up? You know what I'm saying? 10 years, are you going to take care of yourself? Are you going to look like you're ready for it 10 years from now? Like, that's the kind of stuff you got to ask yourself. Um, uh, Oh, look at this. Look at Jeff, my best friend, and the keyboardist of Cyberattack. Guys, did you guys know that the keyboardist of Cyberattack is watching my AMA? I didn't know that. Hi, Jeff. Use your golf sound alike as one of the songs in your next pedal video. Okay, I'd have to find it. And I don't know if it sounds good. I don't know. It might not, I might not think it sounds good. The producer I worked for thought it sounded good. And, the golf people were respectful, but it might not sound good. It might not sound good. My memory is that like I sang it like this. because on one level that's the only way I knew how to sing, and on another level that was like sort of how the guy sang it. But my memory is that like I was this person for the track, and like if that memory is accurate, then I never want it to be released. To me, the real exciting thing about this question is just that the keyboardist of my band is watching this. You guys have any questions for Jeff? Jeff is really smart. He plays keyboards. He's good at synthesizers. He studied engineering. He went to Stanford. He could probably answer any question you have about anything. I do this to Jeff all the time. All the time. I'll be like, Jeff, you know, how come the human ear can't hear the difference between inverted waveforms? Why? How come like negative pressure and positive pressure sound the same to the human eardrum? I don't understand. And then Jeff will be like, well, I don't know. And then I'll be like, you don't? But Jeff, like, aren't you sort of doesn't your vision of yourself require that you never flinch from any question ever? And then I'll see Jeff be like, okay, all right, well, let's think about it. Let's think about it. So if anybody wants to ask Jeff a question, re-record it from scratch as an instrumental. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that. You're talking about the golf song where I sing like this. You know what I actually have though? I mean, maybe I'll do this, but I have a text document on my computer where it's just a list of songs I want to cover for pedal videos. Just a list of songs I think it would be cool to do. So, you know, a lot of them are cooler than this little song. Like I want to do stuff from the Brad Mehldau, Mark Juliana record. You know, I want to do something from like a Keith Jarrett concert. You know, there's like cooler stuff I want to do than just this. Are you outside right now, or is that a window behind you? I'm not outside. It's a plant on a shelf. Awesome. I love your honesty and looking forward to see where this whole thing will take you. P.S. Sorry for career counselor formal stuff. Yes. You guys do not need to apologize if I become hostile in responding to one of your questions that was clearly not hostile. It's okay. It's okay. I'm a confrontational person, and I you know, my whole artistic sensibility is like worships hostility. So that was just me being flip. You don't need to apologize. I'll tell you when I think an apology is in order. Let that be known. When people come into these AMAs, it hasn't really happened so far. But on the day, when the day comes that I think a participant owes us an apology, I'll make it clear. I'll say, I think you should apologize. And I haven't felt that way about anybody here. All right. Is there anything else? Does anybody have any last minute questions? We're like sort of at the end here. Let me see if there's any pre-submitted ones I got to do. Oh yeah, here's one. Here's somebody who needed help. Here's one I could do at the very end from Lesser Hell. If you had to make a solo looper type set of songs, what tips would you have to keep it interesting? Love the vids, bro. Thanks, bro. You know, I've never done one of these. I've never done a solo set where I like play into a looper. So I don't really know. You know, there's people who know more about this than I do, probably in the chat, who could give you good advice. But since you came to me, you know, I think the key here is to pick cool songs that just use like the same chord progression the whole time. I'm sure I could think of some of those right now. Any song that is just like a sort of very simple chord vamp, but it's still a complete song that has different sections. So you could put the chord vamp down and then, construct and deconstruct and construct and deconstruct over the same chords. Early Michael Jackson songs are like this. Shake Your Body, that whole song, it's a cool song. That whole song is like the same vamp. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is a 2-chord song, almost. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is almost entirely 2 chords, except for the part that's like do 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 do. That's the one part where it goes to more than 2 chords. But I bet you could skip that in your looper set and people would be okay with it. On Broadway, George Benson, that's a cool song. If you skip the key changes, and you could skip that. Big Boogie Shoes by Casey and the Sunshine Band. That's like a very few chords in that song. Try to think of those. Try to think of stuff like that. Do you ever struggle with the idea of people wanting to be taught to express themselves artistically? No. Why would anyone struggle with that? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Do you ever struggle with the idea of people wanting to be taught to express them? No, I had to be taught that. I don't struggle with this. You have to be a stone cold prodigy to be able to express yourself without anyone teaching you anything. Sometimes I'll watch like an interview with like an insane guitar player, like Borelli LaGrain or Danny Gatton or somebody, and it'll become clear that like they don't have a super detailed music theory knowledge. Like they won't know things like what the difference between a half diminished chord and a full diminished chord. That language won't mean anything to them, but their ear is so good that it doesn't matter. Right. My understanding is that guys at that level are basically doing everything by ear all the time. That's how insane their ear is, that they just understand all music just by hearing it once, or maybe more than once, but that it just lives in their mind as pure music. Whereas for someone like me, like I have a good ear, but I still sometimes need to think of shit like, oh, okay, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, whatever dominant 7 chord I'm playing over, I'm just going to transpose it up a tritone and play over that chord and then resolve it. I sometimes have to take music theory shortcuts in my mind because my ear is not so insanely good that I could just hear what that is without using the language of music theory to describe it to myself. So my point here is like, if you are equal to Danny Gatton, you maybe don't have to be taught very much. But you got to ask yourself, am I equal to Danny Gatton? I'm not. I got no problem saying that. If you can pick only one delay pedal for the rest of your life, what would it be? The first one that comes to mind is the Strymon Timeline. In fact, I even have it right here. How's that for being a shill? It's right here. I first got this because of the fact that you could choose the tempo by BPM value. If like I got this at a time when I was in a band that played all our live shows to a metronome, and so we knew like the first song is 122 BPM. The fact that I could then program all my delay settings to the specific BPM, that was the initial selling point. And then everything else I learned about what this pedal can do was incredible, and I've never looked back. And also it can do things that are not even delay related. The Strymon Timeline can be a distortion pedal. It can be a straight up pitch shifter. It can be a straight up harmonizer. Just watch my videos about it. A more advanced looper such as the Boomerang 3 has several loop banks, so you can use several paths in the piece. Oh, that you're talking a lesser help. Well, thanks for your help. I put these questions on the screen before I even read them. So I put them on the screen, and I don't even know what people are saying until I read it. Thank you for helping the other guy. That was nice of you. All right. That's it for this one. Everybody, thanks for being a part of this. I love doing these. Super fun. Thanks for the questions. I do teach. So if you want Zoom lessons, just send me an email. I'll be happy to do it. And, if you want to help, just sharing these videos or posting these videos, it actually really does help. Like if you just want to show them to your friends, or if you want to post them on Facebook or whatever it is, just being like, hey, here's a cool video, that actually like makes a difference. But in any case, thanks for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. It's always fun.